What up, guys? Now that the DLC has been out for about a month, it's close to it. I'm seeing posts, very interesting posts about some of the story implications and exactly like how the DLC ended and what they were trying to imply, or or whatever story beats they missed. So I've been reading a lot. However, I found this post that I think is a really great summary of how a lot of people feel about the ending of the DLC. There's definitely some theory crafting here, but let's jump into it. From Software intentionally tried to convey a sense of emptiness after beating the DLC. Why do you think this decision was made? Okay, yeah, I agree. Like, dude, Miquella doesn't even say anything after you defeat the boss. You know what I mean? I now, for the record, I do enjoy the final boss fight. It You just can't approach him in the most honest way. You definitely have to have a strong build. You use all the tools at your disposal, for sure, for sure. I see some players, jump into that final boss fight way too honest, and it's like, this is not gonna work. However, yeah, at the end of the DLC, it felt like a halt. It just felt very it's very quiet. I think this is a great summary of it, a sense of emptiness for sure. But yeah, let's see what they're talking about here. Many people on the subreddit are complaining about this as if it's kind of short-sightedness on From's behalf, but I think not only that it's not true, but in fact paid close attention to doing that, and the complaints on the sub prove that they did as well. So they're trying to say that From Software intentionally conveyed a sense of emptiness. I mean, that's what the title says. Okay, I'm on board with this. Let's see what they're cooking. Why am I so sure of it being intentional? Because they truly went out of their way to do that. In Elden Ring, canonically, at least, summons have always survived the fight, but Ansbach and Thurlier did not. Okay, I think that's just a story beat, right? That's not really that's not like it's related to the summoning so much as Ansbach is supposed to die in that situation. But you know what? That's an interesting detail. Two characters who could have easily provided some closure to the DLC. Yeah, I mean, I'm with that. I just don't know if they had anything else to say, to be honest. Like, even Ansbach, when you talk to him before the final boss, he understands who you are. Like, you defeated Moog and stuff, and he's kind of just like, well, we're brothers in arms now, so let's get the job finished. There, he doesn't have like a I don't know, some sort of parting gift or anything, but well, he does, I guess, but yeah, he doesn't have like a conclusion. He just passes away. Ansbach is a great character, though. He was a great character. Yeah, honestly, the only thing that bugged me was the fact that Miquella didn't say anything at the the defeat God slain title card. You know what I mean? Like Miquella doesn't say anything besides that flashback. But I don't know. Normally bosses, when they die, like Mesmer cried out to America or whatever. But you know what I mean. You also kill 3 NPCs who could have also provided some closure to the DLC immediately before the final fight. Even if all of this wasn't enough, in the files there's at least Saint Trina's line in which she thanks you for everything. Probably right before she just dies, that was cut out. Huh. That's interesting. If that's true. Okay. Like it or not, the DLC's abrupt ending, and without any closure, and the sense of emptiness that follows, was very much a creative decision, probably by Miyazaki himself. Yeah, I think they definitely provided a lot of examples to where they could have added more. They could have expanded the conclusion to the DLC if they wanted to. Probably by Miyazaki himself. I don't know. That's a stretch, but who knows? But yeah, they didn't provide us with really much closure at the end of the DLC, which of course, it's the end of the DLC. It's not the end of the game. However, Miquella, if Miquella got his way, that would have been the ending to the game. Like, everything else is at a stalemate. If Miquella gets his way, he was the only demigod or god left. willing to change the world. Everything else was at a stalemate, essentially. Like, Ronnie's quest doesn't complete without your, your contribution. The madness, the madness ending doesn't happen without the Tarnished contribution. Without the Tarnished those two endings don't happen. Without the Tarnished, Miquella's ending does happen. At least that's how I take it. Considering how hands-on he is with his projects, as evident by interviews with people who have worked with him. Oh, okay. So they're saying it was likely Miyazaki's decision because people say it's Miyazaki's like final word. I get that. Yeah, that's fair. But all of this begs a question: why? What do you think about the goal they were trying to reach? I think it's much better to have this conversation instead of complaining about how you didn't like the decision. Yeah, I'm with that. I don't know. I don't really have much to add besides the fact that I really think that if the Tarnish isn't in the story, Miquella's ending is the final ending for that world. Like, Miquella gets his way. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it's the ending of the DLC. Would I have liked to see like one final dialogue from Miquella when he's defeated? Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a sense of emptiness for sure. I don't know. Let's see what people are saying, because I don't really have like a good reason to feel like that it had to be an empty ending. You know what I mean? Or, a sense of emptiness for the ending. The DLC is a tragedy about generational trauma, and nobody gets closure. The Hornsent butchered Marika's people, and Marika's butchered them in turn. Marika began as someone who had the kindness of gold, without order. She then lost that kindness as she rose up. When Saint Trina tells us to kill Miquella, she does so because she knows the path he is going down. His kindness would not survive godhood. Ooh, okay. That's interesting. Miquella could turn into a different being altogether. I see what they're saying. Like, his personality and stuff would be different when he actually ascends to being a god. That's interesting. By the time we reach Miquella, we have seen what he's willing to abandon in order to achieve his goal. While his intentions are noble, his methods are flawed, and he is killed having done nothing he ever set out to do. He did not cure Malenia. He did not give Godwyn a true death. His Haligtree rotted and left the Albernarix, without a home. His truest warriors all died, and his consort was slain. Okay, the DLC doesn't give closure because no one gets it. Miquella does not, Marika does not, you don't either because this is not the end of the game. You get closure by defeating Radagon and the Elden Beast. There's a reason why Ranni's ending is the best one. She actually changes the conditions that cause the suffering. She cuts out the outer gods and leaves the worlds to humans. While this does not guarantee a brighter future, it ends the rule of gods. If you want closure, go for her ending, but don't expect it from the DLC. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No, that's a really good comment. Yeah, you could tell I don't have to say Albernarix that often. Yeah, I guess. Look, that's acceptable. That's an acceptable answer. I still feel like we could have had at least one last final dialogue from the dying breath of Miquella, just to even contextualize something. Like, I don't even know what I'd want him to say, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. You know what? I feel like Ansbach says a lot when he's like, you're a true lord for men and not for like gods or whatever. Like, basically saying you're the Elden Lord for mankind and not the Elden Lord for, these demigod beings. I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like that's probably the best closure in the DLC, or at least something to like a send off. Basically what the DLC is trying to convey is the fact that you, as a Tarnished, are the best hope for deciding the fate of that world, pretty much. I don't know. I like it. I like this comment. Very good comment. Let's see if we can find another take, though. If the emptiness is the point, then they certainly succeeded in invoking it in me. Okay. I just beat the DLC today and realized that the Shadowlands are almost entirely devoid of life, leadership, of anyone to talk to. There's basically just a horn-sent grandma, and even she went to sleep. This part of the world feels empty now. If it's intentional, I think it helps us return to the lands between. I don't want to return to the Shadowlands. There's nothing for me there. But the places... I'm so sorry, guys. But the places I've already been and the people I walked those paths with are either slain by my own hand or died fighting alongside me. This... Eclectric band of Miquella's followers all dead save for me. I don't know what he's trying to say there. I think that there might be some grammar, or maybe I'm reading it wrong. I did just say places. but let's this band of Miquella's followers all dead save for me. I don't get what they're saying here. On the other hand, the DLC feels like missing chunks connective tissue back to the main game, which could have really tied it together. It's a largely contained thing, and there's nothing to do now, so it feels empty, and there'll be no closure or reaction from the main game characters. Hold on. Okay, that's actually interesting. The reaction to main game characters of the DLC, did we ever get that in a From Software game? I'm trying to think of the Ring City. No, right? Yeah, it's not like the final boss says anything about, the slave knight, Gale, you know what I mean? I don't think the final boss... Wait, no, there's a connection. Isn't there, like, a teleport? Isn't there a way you can, like, go to the DLC from the final area in Dark Souls 3? I know the final boss literally doesn't say anything, but, like, there's really nothing indicating that Gale had any sort of, well, he did have an impact in the story, but, like, even after defeating Gale, it's not like the vanilla game changed at all. I don't know why people were expecting that. That's weird. Well, I'll tell you what. This definitely is a take for sure. But, you know, on the other hand, the DLC feels like it's missing chunks. I disagree with. I think the DLC, like, I know there's, like I said, there's maybe one nice parting word from Miquella that would have been nice, but for the most part, I feel like the DLC was pretty complete, especially what it did for the story. I feel like there's a lot of stuff we were actually missing from the vanilla game, you know, like why Mog took Miquella in the first place. Like, we didn't get any of that detail, and it turned out it was probably one of the most important moves in the storyline. But okay. Let's see what else people are saying. Huff's copium. Yes, the emptiness and disappointment is just what Miyazaki wants us to feel. See, now this, yeah, like, disappointment. What are you disappointed about? What did you want from the story? Like, what did you want from this DLC that they didn't deliver? That's crazy. Is just what Miyazaki wants us to feel. It's definitely a creative decision that went perfectly according to plan, and not at all signs that the DLC was unfinished, lacked polish, and rushed because they bit off more than they could chew. Dude, this has 91 upvotes. Look, like, I understand you don't have to like the game, but bro, do you really think they would have rushed out this DLC like that? Like, maybe the finale could have been a little bit more fleshed out. But you're saying the entire DLC was unfinished and lacked polish? Are you insane? It's basically just as polished as the main game. From Software certainly likes to pick their battles when it comes to polish. I mean, we have dead spawns as invaders in the DLC. This person's not an invader. Like, I'm just going to say that right now. There's simply... The one thing I was disappointed with is that I didn't see a PvP boss, like, similar to the, like, the church at the Ring City. Like, something like that would have been cool, right? But, you know, frankly, we're just invading people anyway, and the way the game works, we're essentially a PvP boss all the time. So I don't know. Look, dude, nah, I hardcore disagree that the DLC was unfinished and lacked polish. Certainly, there are points where it felt like we could have had some additional things. Like the post above, they said they cut out certain lines. But like, dude, sorry. Like, if you have a headcanon in the DLC story that didn't happen, that's on you, man. You're getting skill issued by your own thought process. I don't know if that makes sense, but you understand. Like, if he was expecting something that wasn't in the trailer, it wasn't in like anyone's real mind that it was gonna happen. It wasn't even like, it wasn't foreshadowed. It wasn't mentioned at all. If something like that did not happen, that is your fault for expecting something that they didn't say was going to happen. It's just weird. It's just like, the DLC's a disappointment because my headcanon didn't happen. And look, man, when it comes to the story of Elden Ring, I just accept what is happening, you know? I just accept it. I like learning about it because every other day I feel like I'm learning a new thing. But when it comes to the DLC story, I felt like it was very, very good. I really liked the last area as well. The last area looked really nice. The last area itself provides a lot of the story. I mean, it's a giant gate to godhood built by dead bodies. like that is boom. Like, that's the story. You know what I mean? Or like, at least it's a monument to the consequences of the story. But nah, man, all signs pointed to the DLC was unfinished and lacked polish, bro. This is just being negative for the sake of it. There's not like a real example of that, to be honest. Elden Ring base game was the same. By the end, the round table hold is burning, and all that is left is Hugh, who's completely lost his mind, and Rodrika, who's completely broken and only sticking around for Hugh. Basically, everyone else is dead and gone, except for maybe a few NPCs whose quests you've completed and are stuck in a static area with the same few lines of dialogue. Okay, we all understand that the world of Elden Ring is literally like decrepit. Like, the actual rules of the actual rules of the universe in Elden Ring aren't working properly. Like, death doesn't exist and stuff. So, like, the ending being sad and brooding and stuff, it like kind of makes sense because that is literally the world they were living in. As for, like, you know, the sad details about like Hugh completely losing his mind, yeah, that stuff's sad, you know. And it's like, if you're looking for a happy ending, going into a From Software game is not a good play. I know people will say that's just From Software nihilism. Yeah, that's literally what I just said. But there's nothing wrong with evolving your format. Look, you're already like evolving your format. You're already coming at a place trying to like lecture From Software. Like, you see it as involving the format by, you know, not being negative or having a negative ending or whatever. But that's simply not how they look at it. So to objectively be like, but there's nothing wrong with evolving your format, that's just the type of like framing where I just don't take what you're saying seriously. Like, you have to understand that might not be their vision. It has nothing to do with evolving. Don't talk to invaders about what From Software needs to evolve. You know what I mean? I feel like the delivery of the multiplayer aspects of Elden Ring is the only thing that anyone can even be a little bit disappointed about. You know, like with the lack of covenants and stuff. That would have been interesting. But let's continue. Imagine a Souls game with a more dynamic NPC and quest structure like Skyrim or other RPGs. Okay. No, that's fine. Honestly, I've really enjoyed the Leda fight. The Leda fight where, you know, everyone's talking to each other and stuff. Like, that was cool. That was cool. I don't really need a quest structure, to be honest. I don't want like a waypoint or anything like that in these games. I don't want to have like a tree branch of like dialogue options. I'm not looking for that from this game, so I'm good on that. But the dynamic NPC, like I don't think he's saying it here, but a dynamic NPC like conversation, like, you know what I mean, like where the NPCs are kind of conversing and we learn more about the story and stuff. We can do that. Like, why not? Like, just have they did that during the fight, so they proved that they could do that. But some more from the NPCs would be nice if they just, even if it's something small where you can just find them talking to each other and it's like a rare encounter or something, and it could be like just a small conversation. It doesn't have to be that much, but it does do a lot for the immersion to understand that the NPCs are like they have their own thoughts. It's all a video game and stuff, but it would be cool if like Rodrika actually like came over to Hugh or whatever and just chatted him up a bit. Who knows? In my opinion, it's the weakest part of the games by far. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Everyone's pretty frustrated with how they do their quest structure. But I thought the quest structure for the DLC was actually really good. I thought it was really good. Because you're opening yourself up to more of the story, conversing with these characters, and then that progresses their quest lines. But yeah, sometimes it's like how are you supposed to know where the summon sign is for the Swift Slash, like the summon signs for Hornset and Letta? Like, they're kind of just at Shadow Keep, and they're just in a corner, just, like, hanging out. I just... Like, how do you find that? Like, how did the people who played the DLC first, like, understood the emote? The emote to get to the, like, the secret part. Like, the Oh Mother emote. Like, how did they figure that stuff out? I know there's little hints in items and stuff. And, frankly, I think that type of quest structure is more unique and it's more involved than what we get from Skyrim, where you just sit around and just watch people yap. I like meaningful yaps, but like one or two conversations are enough for me. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's some points here there's points here to be had about like how the NPCs in From Software games react to each other. But the actual quest structure of Skyrim is boring. So, yeah. Yes, the From Software can never get anything wrong. Everything they do is intentional and part of some grand plan that everyone is too stupid to understand. Gang is back. Yeah, so I'm starting to see why the original poster pointed out the negativity. Like, yeah, that's certainly what they were getting at. They even framed the conversation in a way to being like, what if this was their intention? Like, holy crap, dude. Like, look, you can be bitter all you want, but you look bitter, and we're allowed to call you bitter about it. Games are an experience for the player. If ending was a bad experience for most people... See, like, what are you talking about? If the ending was a bad experience for most people, then the devs missed the mark. Like, dude, who... Okay, fine. If the ending was a bad experience for most people, name me every Elden Ring player. I'm trolling, but like when you frame your sentence that way, it just comes off as very immature and not very thought out. Like, sure, dude, most people. Okay, name me every single Elden Ring player, and I'll take you seriously on that. Now, was the ending a bad experience for you? That's fair. You can talk about that, but you're not really providing any examples here and why it's a bad experience for most people. Because I agree, the ending was a little silent, if you will. Was it a bad experience? No. Heck no. Just the music, the arena, like the entire vibe of that final boss fight just felt so like world shattering. You know what I mean? Like that is Radahn, like a peak Radahn, and he is being influenced by the would-be god of that universe, and you are fighting those people. Like, if that doesn't like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. Everything else is extra, which From Software does deliver on the extra. Just, not for the ending for the DLC, which is, yeah. Which, sure, would have been nice to have a little bit of, just some sort of... See, again, I'll bring it up. The only thing I would have been... the only thing I was a little bit disappointed with is the fact that Miquella didn't have a dying breath dialogue. You know what I mean? That was the only thing. That's the only thing. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna be like, dang, that DLC ending experience was a bad experience for most people because of one dialogue thing that I didn't hear. Like, come on. Come on. I don't know what's going on in the comments here. I love the sense of tragedy and lack of closure throughout the DLC. Not everything gets wrapped up with a bow on top. Not everything has a satisfying ending. Sometimes horrifying, traumatic stuff just happens, and we're left grasping for meaning where there isn't any in the aftermath. Dang. Yeah, wow, I feel like I just played a From Software game. I feel grasping for meaning is a little, a little over the top, but yeah, yep. Oh man, this is why I love these games, to be honest, though, because there's nothing better than being able to overcome that sense of dread, and that is definitely something that From Software nailed in this DLC. The sense of dread, it was everywhere. Like the bodies being impaled, again, the giant gate to godhood, literally built by dead bodies. Mesmer, like honestly, what gives you more sense of dread that the big bad in the area is actually also a victim? You know what I mean? Like, that's the like everyone is in a dreadful state. Bale, like poor Bale, he lost his foot. Oh my god. Nah, this is a good comment. This is a good comment. It's definitely not going to satisfy people who wanted an ending, I guess, an Avengers level ending. like what type of Disney show did they think we were going to play here? You know what I mean? Like, nah, man. Bro, they put key story points in item descriptions that you aren't even guaranteed to pick up. I don't think From Software cares about what your bad experience was because the DLC didn't it didn't have the ending you wanted or whatever. Like, From Software is they're good, and it serves us as the consumer better by sticking to their vision and completing it. Now, naturally, some people are debating if the DLC's even completed. Some people are going as far as saying the DLC isn't completed, and I'm just saying, well, maybe there's one or two dialogue choices they could have added in or something. I don't know. Like, I'm saying it's 99% complete. They're saying it's 50% complete because the ending was empty. Like, nah. Like, I don't know. I think the DLC's finished. I think From Software got what they wanted out of it. I think we got what we wanted out of it. Just some people are, unfortunately, bitter about it. So, I don't know. I think this was a good conversation. There wasn't I didn't see nearly enough DLC DLC discussions about the vibes or the intentions of the story and stuff. I didn't see enough of that, and it's good because I read it. I read the original post here, and I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting conversation. So it's just unfortunate that some people try to break it down in such like I don't know, immature ways. Like, oh, okay, so what, From Software can't make mistakes ever? Okay, well, guess what? I think the DLC sucked. It's just like, it's like nobody gets anything out of that, you know what I mean? If someone is glazing the DLC, there's probably some points in there that you could, detail, you can discuss them, you can find a middle ground, and then maybe even that boils down to another discussion. But just going from like, oh, okay, this is what you think, well, I think it isn't that, and not saying any reasons or explaining your point, like that's the type of stuff we need to weed out from the community. You know what I mean? If it's a lore conversation and you can't even tell us why you didn't like the DLC, it's like you're not providing much to the conversation, Well, that'll be it. Thanks for watching, guys. Definitely a fun video. It's been a while since I did a Reddit video. I'm gonna keep my eye out for stuff. The balanced discussions of the new weapons and stuff is definitely gonna be something I'm gonna keep an eye out for, because we haven't had a patch for a meaningful patch. It's quite possible we don't get a patch. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, I'm keep an eye out for that sort of conversation for sure. But either way, thanks for watching.